Continuing to read from The One and Only Ivan by Katherine Applegate. Starting on page 199, Loose. A new police officer joins us. Officer Williams, she nods at Maya. You're with the park, right? Yes, I'm Maya. This, Officer Williams pauses. We need to get this under control ASAP. Winds are going to pick up and we haven't even hit the eye. Storm surge could be an issue. This one's moving slowly. We've got a skeleton staff here, says Maya, as the meerkat attempts to eat her earring. Early reports say maybe a third of the habitats are damaged or destroyed. She shakes her head. We've got some injuries, plus some possible fatalities, too. Human? Don't think so. Anything loose that could be, problem? Maya presses her lips together. Yep. Such as a couple Florida panthers, gray wolves, python, maybe an alligator or two. American alligators, not Chinese. I don't care if they're from Canada. If they eat people, we're in trouble. They don't, typically. Typically, Officer Williams responds. Well, that's reassuring. Sarah loosens her grip on me ever so slightly. Maya, she asks, voice trembling, have you heard anything on the radio from George and Julia? I keep calling, but the cell towers are down. Nothing yet, Maya says, but I'm sure they're fine. Nearest shelter's over at Lincoln Elementary, said Officer Williams. You could check there. Sarah frowns. They were probably here right before the tornado hit. We're searching the park, ma'am, says the officer. We'll find them if they're here. Everybody clear out, a firefighter with a megaphone yells from a spot near Ivan. Could be danger of more collapse. We're working on this last metal beam. I look to see if Ivan's fingers are moving. Nothing. Hold on, Ivan, I yell. Nothing. Sometimes nothing is the worst sound in the whole world. Ruby lets out a little elephant cry, and then I realize maybe that's the worst sound in the world. CPR. The wind dies down to a whisper, as if the world is holding its breath along with the rest of us. Do you have any vets standing by? Asks Officer Williams, as two more ambulances screech to a halt nearby. Yes, Maya nods. Not sure when they'll get here, though. Officer Williams waves down an ambulance crew member. Ever give a CPR to an gorilla? Primate's a primate, I guess, he says, but he doesn't look too sure. What's going on? We're waiting on equipment, but we're stretched pretty thin. Lots of structural damage to the north side of town, says Officer Williams. We're going to get a chain on that last beam. Try pulling it free with one of the cars. Somebody under there? Gorilla, we think. Not sure what else, or who else. I look at all the cement, all the wood and metal. Nobody could survive that. Not even a silverback gorilla with the strength of 8 men. And yet, Ivan's fingers move. And then they didn't. Several minutes pass. The rain slows a bit along with the wind. The crowd watches as 3 firefighters attach a long chain to the metal beam next to Ivan, then hook it to the tow bar on the rear of the police car. Back up, folks, calls the megaphone guy. Farther. The chain clanks. The car growls. The wheels squeal. Grinding, groaning. Progress, just a bit. A big chunk of metal has definitely moved a whisker or two. More grinding. Wheels dig holes in the ground. Mud flies like thick brown rain. A lurch, a snap. Clanks and rumbles as the big beam jerks free. The rescue workers move in, digging with their bare hands. Cement and dust and metal and bits and pieces of gorilla world are everywhere. But where is Ivan? No. No movement. Nothing. But after a few minutes, one thing is clear. The gorilla-shaped mound has appeared, covered by dust and dirt and debris and splattered with mud and rain. It just lies there. I've lost a lot in my life. My whole family. Stella. But Ivan? No, it can't happen. Not Ivan. Miracle. The mound sits up. Gorilla ghost. Ivan emerges from a cloud of just like a jumbo-sized ghost. He blinks several times, coughs, shakes, screeches a little. He's holding a banana, which he proceeds to eat. Everyone, and I do mean everyone, claps and cheers. Wolf on the run. I scramble over to Ivan, and he gives me a look that says, "You're the best, Bob." "I thought you were a goner," I say, licking some banana goo off his chin. "Me too." Ivan seems a little dazed. His eyelashes are white with dust. "What happened anyway?" "Tornado." "Ruby okay?" "Kenyani? Julia? George?" "Haven't seen Julia or George yet. Kinyani's over there carrying on. A paramedic holding a box of medical equipment approaches us nervously. "I've got this," calls a woman I recognize as one of the park veterinarians. A paramedic looks happy to step aside. The vet gently but firmly pushes me out of the way. "I'll be back," I tell Ivan. I run to Kinyani. "He's good, totally good." The look of joy in her eyes makes me want to give her an affectionate nose nudge. Almost. From there I join Ruby and Maya. "I was so scared, Bob," Ruby whispers. "Me too," I admit. "Me too. But he's fine, I promise." We watch a pair of otters dart past, chased by a guy with a net. One of the firefighters who's been clearing debris yells, "We're clear here, no signs of other victims." Sarah closes her eyes, and I can smell her relieved tears. While Maya listens to her walkie-talkie, trying to take stock of the damage to the park, Officer Williams's police radio hisses and crackles with new problems, new flooding, new dire predictions. "Copy that," she says into her radio. Even with the chaos and noise, I'm close enough to the radio to catch the tinny sound of frantic barking. "We've got our unit reporting to the animal shelter down the street flooding," Officer Williams says. "Also, we've got trailer park damage on 12th Street, an oak down at Nelson Ave blocking traffic, and a big rig overturned near the fairground, and that's just for starters." Out of the corner of my eye, I notice something airborne. It's graceful and bold, like a huge wingless bird. The crowd gasps. It's Kimu. He lands on the hood of Officer Williams' squad car. His eyes are glazed, his coat wet and shimmering. "We've got a 1091 here," Officer Williams whispers to her receiver. "Confirmed. There's a wolf on top of my vehicle." She slowly reaches for the pistol on her hip. "Please advise." Shots fired. Several officers raise their guns. The tranquilizer dart gun takes aim too. "No!" Maya yells. "No guns!" Kimu blinks, eyes darting left and right, then leaps off the car with such grace and speed it's like he owns the wind. The two shots ring out. Silence follows. "Was he hit?" someone asks. Maya closes her eyes. "I sure hope not." "I sure hope so," the someone else says. Jungle. I watched that leap. Watched Kimu fly. I didn't know what to think. Part of me was like, "Go for it, dude." The other part of me was thinking, it's a jungle out there. A situation. Officer Williams climbs onto a picnic table. Someone hands her a megaphone so she can be heard over the din. "Folks," she yells, "listen up. We've got a handful of animal control workers coming over, but several roads are already flooded out, and the weather guys are saying Gus is going to take his sweet time. Meantime, park supervisors call in more help, but only if your workers can get here safely." The unmistakable roar of the big cats roll over us like the slow thunder. "Any more trank guns?" Officer Williams asked the park director, who just arrived. "3 in reserve," she answers. "Nets? We have a dozen." "Okay then," Officer Williams' radio crackles. I can hear more shouting, more barking dogs. "Shelter's flooding," she says. "Yeah, that's happened before," the director says. "Usually just a foot or two of water." "Okay, public safety is where we start." Officer Williams wipes rain from her forehead. "We need to get word out that these animals are on the loose." "Of course," says the director. "We have protocols in place. But we need to be careful how we word this. People might overreact, might..." Ma'am interrupts. "I see a python in my backyard. I'm sure as heck going to overreact." "First things first," says Officer Williams. "Triage in the main office. Check wreckage for any survivors, human or animal. Fan out with the trank guns. Get an inventory of how many animals are loose." I wonder how it's possible that Officer Williams can seem so composed. The air reeks of fear from animals, birds, people, from me. And yet she doesn't seem worried about herself, just other people. Weird. The way some people stick their necks out for others. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? Again the crackle, the hiss, the barking. My ears perk up for a moment. Was that a familiar voice? Maybe someone I know is in the slammer? "I'm going to the shelter at the elementary school," Sarah says. Her hands are trembling, but her voice is firm. "To look for George and Julia, just in case." She strokes my head, and I'm happy to let her. I wonder if I should tag along with her, see if I can help out, now that I know Ivan or Ruby are safe. Hiss, crackle, meow, bark. I hear it again. My ears go on alert. My body goes rigid. No, it's impossible. Never. Some barks you never forget. One place. I know what I have to do. Despite the turmoil all around me, the noises, the smells, the fears, the confused humans, the frantic animals, Despite my worry about Julia and George, I know there's one place I need to be. A split second. I want to tell Ivan and Ruby, but Ivan is still being poked at by the rhymes with pet threat. Although, come to think of it, she doesn't seem like much of a threat. In a movie, she'd be one of the good guys. To my annoyance, Sarah picks me up. I hate being picked up, unless it's my idea. Then it's totally cool. Maya, she says, you let me know. First sign of George and Julia, okay? Promise, says Maya, and she places her hand on Sarah's shoulder. Humans always with the touching, although I kind of get it under the circumstances. You can't take Bob to the school shelter. They're not allowing any more pets, Maya points out, and the animal shelter is flooding, it sounds like. Why don't you leave him here? I'll put him in my office. He'll be safe. No way is that on my agenda. Sarah nods. Good idea. She starts to hand me over, but hesitates when she realizes Maya still has a meerkat wrapped around her neck. It's just a split second, but a split second is all it takes to escape when you're Bob, untamed and undaunted. On my way. Bob, Sarah cries. Grab that dog, Maya yells. I spent the good part of my life running from a certain guy named Mac, and I still have my moves. I twist and spin and dip, and before you can say, yes, sirree, Bob, they've given up. I backtrack, slip under a bench, and make my way to Ruby. Ruby, I whisper, gotta go. Something's important's come up. You and Ivan see if you can find George and Julia. I want to come, Ruby says, stomping her right foot in a huge puddle. You need to keep an eye on Ivan, I said. Make sure Kenyani doesn't drive him loco with her sobbing. I'll be back before you know it. I don't wait for an answer. I'm off into the wild, into the world filled with wind and rain, with wolves and alligator, with a voice that could rip my heart in two. We will begin with part 3 during our next reading.